Ahead of November's election, President Obama pushes for middle-class tax cuts and an end to many of the Bush-era tax cuts for the very wealthiest of Americans. For more on this hot-button election and somewhat controversial, we head now to CCTV's Sean Callebs, who is live just outside the White House. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Phil. Make no mistake about it. Today's announcement was President Obama trying to create a distinction between himself and the presumptive GOP presidential nominee Mitt Romney as we move toward November elections.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
It was no accident that President Barack Obama surrounded himself with working-class Americans as he proposed cutting taxes for households making less than $250,000 a year.
I believe our prosperity has always come from an economy that's built on a strong and growing middle class, one that can afford to buy the products that our businesses sell, a middle class that can own homes and send their kids to college.
And at the same time, Obama is calling for an end to tax cuts that benefit the nation's wealthiest taxpayers, a measure approved during the George W. Bush administration. Republicans argue that raising taxes on the richest Americans will hurt job growth and hamper small businesses. Obama says that's simply not true, that 97% of small business owners make less than $250,000 a year.
So this isn't about taxing job creators. This is about helping job creators. I want to give them relief.
Republicans charge Obama's claims are a thinly veiled campaign attack, pitting the middle class against the wealthy, as well as an attempt to take the focus off last week's poor jobs figures. A spokeswoman for GOP presidential hopeful Mitt Romney was quick to attack, saying the president's latest bad idea is to raise taxes on families, job creators, and small businesses. Almost 500,000 fewer Americans are working today than the day Barack Obama took office, and we've just come through the worst job creation quarter in 2 years. Few, if any, members of the U.S. Congress think Obama's middle-class tax cut has a chance of being approved, in part because of powerful opposition in the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, and in part because of what really counts for middle class in some parts of the U.S. these days. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and New York Senator Chuck Schumer are both pushing for tax cuts for families that make less than $1 million. Pelosi's district includes affluent San Francisco, and many of Schumer's constituents are wealthy Wall Streeters. Well, GOP lawmakers are pushing for tax cuts across the board. However, staffers for President Obama say he will not support a tax cut for the richest Americans, saying by doing so, it would increase the massive national deficit next year by $81 billion and close to $900 billion in the next decade. Phil?
Sean, so basically, both the Republicans and the Democrats have a similar goal. They just have a different way of going about getting there, which is why we have this so-called gridlock. And I guess from your sources, the question is, what are you hearing from the economists and some of your top sources as to if there is a possibility of a compromise being reached prior to the November elections?
Well, there's a couple of things at play here. Firstly, nothing is going to get passed before the November election. That's what everybody is saying. It's just too contentious right now. Secondly, they're going to have to find a way to do something because we're heading up toward what some economists are calling a tax cliff. If you don't cut taxes, you're in essence raising them. So if they raise taxes, especially among the middle class as well as the wealthy, by next year, at the same time we're expecting dramatic federal spending cuts in an effort to get the massive deficit under control. If you do both of those at the same time, many economists are worried it's going to really significantly hurt the U.S. economy, perhaps slide us back into a recession. No one wants that, so let's hope people in Washington can get their heads together and make life great for all of us.
All right. I hope you're absolutely right. Thank you again, Sean, for that analysis.